There's a new sheriff in town and he's got his work cut out for him too. Chris Hipkins, the new police minister. New Zealand right now in the midst of a crime wave. Gang shootings, ram raids, brazen daylight robberies, and they're a common occurrence now. The minister is with us this morning. Good morning, Morena.
Good morning.
They've got you on a high rotate, Minister. You're a very popular man.
Well, I like to be busy.
Why do you think the Prime Minister keeps shoulder tapping you? You must be good at something.
Oh, I think recognition there that that my work in the COVID-19 portfolio was intended to be temporary. Obviously went on a little bit longer, I think, than any of us expected when I first took on the job. It really was about helping with the immediate, emergency response to COVID-19. There are now other people who can pick that up. We've got Dr. Verrill joined the cabinet after the election, is well qualified and better qualified than me, in fact, to do that job. And so it was an opportunity to hand that over to someone who will do that job really, really well. And then pick up a new challenge.
Yeah, fair enough. What will you do differently to your predecessor?
Sorry, I've just lost my earpiece. I want to acknowledge Poto Williams' role in the time in the job. It's a tough job, and I think that the work that she was doing with the police around culture change within the police is very important, and I hope that we'll be able to continue that. I do want to get out and about and speak to the police, which I have been doing already over the last week. I'm intending to keep doing that. We probably have different styles, and I'll just be out there to do the best job that I can.
Yeah, how is your style different, would you say?
Look, I'm not going to provide a running commentary on any of the occupants who might have had the role before me. What I can talk about is what I'm intending to do going forward. So I'll be out and about, meeting with the police, listening to their concerns. I do want to try and join police up with other government agencies where that's useful. So, I see real opportunities to link up with education, with Oranga Tamariki, with other social sector agencies to really get into some of the underlying things that contribute to criminal activity. So if you take youth crime, we've got concern around youth crime at the moment, but for good reason. Getting those kids back into education, training or employment is a really important thing that we can do that will ease some of the pressure on the police.
This is interesting because you are obviously Education Minister as well. Here's a number for you. There was a police truancy overview report. This is from 2020. This is just for Waitemata, the district. They had one truancy officer for more than 80 schools. This at a time when 60% of students are regularly not attending school. Do you think that's good enough?
Well, look, I think that number's probably not, doesn't reflect the total number of people who have been working on student truancy, because, of course, there are people in schools who work on truancy as well. The decision made, it was some time ago now, over 10 years ago, to effectively opt for a contracting out model for truancy services hasn't really worked. It hasn't delivered what we need to have happen, so we are looking again at that. We've got to be clear what we want to focus on here. We're focusing on repeat, persistent absence, not the people who might go away on a once-in-a-lifetime overseas holiday and therefore get marked down as not hitting the attendance targets.
Fair enough.
We want to focus on those who are regularly away.
Sure, but that's something that you'll be looking at, is how that interaction happens and what resources are there. I want to know from you this morning, because we've had a couple of we've had the Police Commissioner and we had the former Police Minister on the program and the Prime Minister in the last few weeks, and they told us that there is a review going on into the police pursuits policy. Were you given an update on that by the Commissioner?
Look, I've had some preliminary conversations with them about that. They haven't produced at this point their review or any recommendations around that, but I'll certainly be talking to them about that. It is something that I know police are very focused on at the moment.
Because all we hear from frontline police officers here on the show is how frustrated they are that there are people committing crimes and they can't chase them.
Well, I think, don't want to cast too many generalisations. One of the things that I have talked to them about is what they are doing. For example, if they stop a chase, what are they doing to continue to monitor that car? Now, if it's in Auckland, they've got a helicopter in the air, they can often monitor that car and then they can catch up with the person involved or the people involved when the car eventually stops. Now, that's not necessarily the case in every other place around the country. So I don't think it's fair to say that if a police car stops stops chasing another vehicle, that means that they're giving up on that particular case. That's not true. So there are other things that they're doing.
Yeah, but given that I think it was about 60% of ram raids, we never find the offender. Does that not worry you?
Well, look, that does worry me, but I think let's look at some of what's behind that. So if we look at the young people involved in some of those ram raids, they're doing it for notoriety. So these are made for social media events. These are or TikTok, and they're filming them. They're putting them on TikTok. They're aiming to be notorious.
But also because they can get away with it.
That's a big challenge for the police.
But also because they're getting away with it, Minister.
But we're not necessarily going to have police standing sentry outside every shop in the country overnight every night.
No, but surely chasing somebody when they commit a criminal act is like basic policing, isn't it?
Well, often in many cases they're long gone before the police can get there. But police do have the ability to pursue. They make judgments, and I'm not going to second guess the judgments that they make about when they should continue with the pursuit and when they shouldn't. That's ultimately a decision for the police.
What you said that you have been speaking to frontline officers, because one of the other things we hear from them is how frustrating it is. They go out on duty, they arrest young people, not all the time, but sometimes they are able to make arrests, and then these young people are out back on the streets before they've even finished their shift, and it's incredibly frustrating for them. Is that what they're telling you as well? What are the frontline telling you?
To be fair, they've been talking about that for a long time. I mean, as a local member of Parliament, I've been out on night patrol with the police, where I've seen firsthand the evidence of that, and that's been happening. At the time, I think last time I went on a night patrol with the police.
What will you do differently?
It was when the last government were there. Well, look, that is one of the reasons why I think we've got to look at some of the underlying issues that contribute to criminal offending amongst young people. We can't just look at punishment after the fact. We've actually got to look at more prevention. Getting those young people engaged in education, training and employment does make a difference. Those kids are far less likely to be out and about on the streets at night engaging in criminal activity. So, activity there, work there, to get those people engaged, that can make a difference.
Okay, what about, we spoke to the Commissioner about requests for stronger gun laws and gang laws, particularly about the ability of police to go after a gang member's assets if they're caught with a firearm, for example. Is that something that they have updated you on, and what have they said?
We've had some early conversations about that. I've also been having some conversations with the new Minister of Justice, Kitty Allen, and her and I are both looking at what more we can do in that area. We're aiming to get a package of things together, which we'll talk about in the next few weeks. So, is there more that we can do in that space? Yes, I think there is.
Is that on the agenda then? Because the Commissioner seemed quite keen on it when we spoke.
Look, I don't want to get into the detail of what are early stage discussions, but we're aiming to progress them very quickly. So I can provide an absolute assurance that both Minister Allen and I are going to be working closely together on those issues.
Do you know if there's been a truce between the killer bees and the tribesmen?
No, look, that's not necessarily something that I would get involved with. The police at an operational level will have a lot more intel on what's going on there.
You didn't ask?
I guess my role as Minister of... Well, my role is I was in Auckland last week and speaking to the people who are involved in that work, that really important work. My job as Minister of Police is to make sure that they've got the tools that they need. It's not to second guess what the police are going to be doing. They make those judgments, and they do that independently of politicians, and that's quite appropriate.
Totally, but do you know whether a truce has been brokered? Because the public's quite interested in it, and it hasn't been confirmed by police.
Well, it's not really the police's job to confirm that either. What
we
goes
would
on
sleep a lot
between those
easier
gangs,
at night, I'm sure, if we knew there'd been a truce brokered, Minister.
Look, I don't have that information. I'm not tapped into the communications between gangs.
Okay. Just before you go, what is your message to frontline officers this morning? You're the new police minister. You're in charge of a big department and a growing department, to be fair. What's your message to them this morning?
Oh, look, I want to thank the police. I acknowledge that they've got a really tough job and that they're dealing with some challenging situations at the moment around gangs and around youth crime. And, you know, my role as Minister of Police is to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be able to do their job effectively. And I'll be out and about listening to them, having conversations with them about what more we might be able to do to support them to do their jobs as best they can.
All right, Police Minister Chris Hipkins, thank you very much for your time this morning.